Everybody, it is time for a minute to skim it. There is some crazy cool stuff to review this week, including we've been waiting a long time for Superman, Spider-Man, a ton of absolute stuff. And I am going to give you guys a surprise today. I'm doing a couple reviews on books that we only have ash cans for. Two wonderful joints from Rosenberg, and my brain just stopped for who the other person is, but really, really great things you should absolutely add to your polls. I'm going to give you all the information you need so you can add them to polls this week ahead of the stuff releasing tomorrow, and or these things haven't even FOC'd, I don't think yet. So do some sharing and liking and ring that bell and all that kind of goodies for me, pretty please, and come right back and I will hook you up. Thanks, Jay. It's Tinian, but also Bennett was the other person I was trying to think of. She couldn't think of. I just looked at it like 30 seconds ago, but you know how things go. This is, like I said, a pretty fire release week. I know a lot of people were talking about how much money they had set aside for all of the cool variants of Superman, Spider-Man. It's really, really good. And I only got to read like the first two stories in it, and all the titles that are a part of it seem really, really great. And plus we got a death spiral to talk about. Let's get after it. All right, I'm going to try to slow myself down this week because I get so excited about these books that I speed through them. And I have less numbers to talk about this week because I try to control myself. But so much quality stuff. Okay, so Amazing Spider-Man, this death spiral storyline is very intriguing. A little bit because it's been catching us up on who is in what symbiote, which is kind of fun. We have, Peter Parker just got back from being like knocked out into space while he was gone. Ben Reilly and can't remember who else messed up from his best friend kind of like took over his roles as Peter Parker and Spider-Man and kind of messed things up for him. So he's working on that, but on top of all that, we've got this crazy character here, the white looking guy with the spiral on his head. That's Torment. And he's kind of like let it be very much known that he is working up to something. Like he's pretty much explained that he is working on a death spiral, hence the name, but that he very much has a time period in which he's working through. He's kind of told us he's working through people that are near and dear to who he has in his sights, but not the person themselves. And he won't kill them even if they're like right in front of him. And we're not 100% certain who his main aims are, but it's pretty certain that it's probably these three characters on the front cover. I'm just guessing. Pre-spending your tax refund. Way to go, Barlord. That's what you do with it. Today I turned in all my points for one of my credit cards, which we put all our bills on credit cards here and just pay them off every month. Man, I just got $700 worth of reward points, and it's only 3 months into the year. So, woo! This means I can buy lots of cool things for the shop. All right, so you guys probably know that in that Venom symbiote suit now is MJ, right? She's doing a great job. They seem to get along. They're doing a good thing. Then you've got Eddie, who's in the Carnage suit. Now, Eddie sometimes is knocked out, which we saw in the third part of Death Spiral. The very last bit kind of like showed it. It got opened up and it showed that Carnage basically was the only one driving the bus because Eddie was out. And probably you've gathered, if you've read any of these, that you have the idea that maybe Carnage intends for it always to be that way, and that Eddie's been damaged pretty severely, so he can't actually not be in the suit. He would die. So this one kind of is like real-time fights with all three of these, a little bit more development in regards to who's going to have long-term control over any of these things. And see a little bit of more of Torment's like plans. And you probably will be happy to know that in the damage path is, of course, it's going to be Eddie's son. We're going to eventually see him because, of course, somebody close to Eddie, that Torment's going to come through that door. But then also there was someone that was close to MJ recently that you guys hate. And you'll be happy to know he's also in the crosshairs. Or at least in close proximity to Dylan. So definitely in crosshairs. So can you guys guess? I'm pretty sure you guys can guess. You guys tell me you hate him all the time. But anyway, this has been a lot of fun. I like these kind of like short-term storylines that have only so many parts. You know where it's going to end. It's going to have something going on. I actually know just enough to know specifically with one of these characters where that's going to lead. And it's exciting to me what they're going to do there. So do jump in with a knowledge that it will be a good payoff at the end. Hey, Stacy, how are you doing? Happy to see you. The Punisher. It's so funny. I remember loving #1 so much, like losing my mind over it. As a reminder for you that have been reading The Punisher Red Band, this is a direct offshoot of that. So it's like if you finish Red Band and you're like, what happens next? This is where the storyline went. It actually referred in issue 1 a couple times to as seen in Red Band, and this one says so right at the beginning of the book, as seen in Red Band. So you don't have to have read Red Band. I didn't read Red Band. I feel like I understand what's going on here. But during the book, basically, there was some kind of mind control going on, and I cannot remember who was the person doing the controlling. But I do know that basically they were driving him around like a bus and using him to assassinate. He had no control over who he was assassinating, but still was using all the skills that he had to do such a thing. And he's always good at what he does, right? He's like Wolverine in this regard. He's the best there is at what he does. So this one pretty much kind of like reinforces that idea that there is a vacuum of power and that Tombstone is out of the picture, but the puzzler is not. And let's see, you find out something in regards to like he wants to go and have like a surgeon go in and figure out the control mechanism. Is he safe? Is it ever going to turn on again? And kind of like he won't know what he's doing anymore. And what they find out is kind of staggeringly interesting because maybe there's no fix. There might not be a fix for him. And if you have that for that character, that's really kind of a cool development, right? If you can never be assured that it won't happen again because it can't truly be controlled or known whether it can be fixed, that's super scary for him. So it's going to be, I love this series. I've been reading every Punisher. I didn't read Red Band because, of course, I didn't want to open up our copies and like rob our customer base of having the opportunity of having a sealed one. But I've been reading all the other stuff, the Daredevil Punisher, this Punisher, the Marvel Knights Punisher. And just like a great many other things, you're like, how many books can you have with one character that are actually still good? The truth is, all of them. You just have to have good creative teams on all of them and different points of view that aren't, staggeringly different from each other. So it feels like it's the same universe-ish. And we can enjoy all of them. So I'm excited for what Marvel has going on. I'm still super stoked for what's coming regarding Armageddon. Can't wait. Did you see they're making a new cul-de-sac story? Very cool. I also saw today an announcement from our friends at Distillery, who had taken a pause on their publishing schedule. And they had put out on all their social media today that they are caught up and are going to get back to having physical media published. So if you were waiting on things to be finished with them, your wait is over. I don't know if that means that like 2 months from now we'll get them, or they're just going to solicit them. So I'm very happy because I know the people that are working with that company or partly owning that company, because that is pretty much a creator-owned company. I'm happy to see them doing well. So, way to go, guys. Midnight Man. Man, Mark Spears, you make some really cool, interesting, like, woven through everything else you're creating stories. Midnight Man is not like just a new creation. It's not a, ooh, who's this thing? It's actually a character that if you were reading any of the Monsters series, it has been reference to and or seen in there. If you've read Mark Spears Monsters 5, 6, 7, you've seen them. And there's different versions of this kind of like super strong beefcake kind of guy. I don't know how to explain what he is. He's like all muscles. There's a blue one, a gold one, and shoot, what's the other one's color? Oh, the one that looks like flesh. It looks like real human. So there are so many cool characters in his universe. They all have their own plans, right? This one is more about a story where it feels like it's trying to say that there were kids that became some of these automatons. I'm not really sure 100% how that occurred. It's a storyline I want to read again. There's some neat characters in here that are like, they have, under their faces are just like robotic core stuff, and those are neat. Who would I cast as Midnight Man? It's interesting. The face does look a ton like, not in this front cover, but in some of the versions of him, it looks a lot like is it Sarah? Who's the guy that plays the Peacemaker? My brain. John Cena. Just watched a movie with him last night. It was a funny one though. It wasn't him being serious. But yeah, it has to be someone huge and veiny and have good traps because he does. The art is gorgeous, just like it always is. And it's interesting. The storyline actually starts out making fun of Mark Spears. I love it when you go and just break the fourth wall goodness. So it really does start out with kids sitting in a comic book store reading a Mark Spears Monsters book, and the grown men that are running or hanging out in the store basically are belittling him, saying that Mark Spears stuff is trash. Which is funny because it says something like Mark Spears is overrated, and Mark Spears has in there a little bit as an asterisk. So he is self-aware that he is blown up and is still humble about it, at least in the book. So yeah, you saw Cena. Yeah, it really does. He would fit right in. I think it would be a good Midnight Man. And it would be neat if the whole Mark Spears universe, they did it, because I do love that like old school look of Universal Monsters, that like rosy cheeked, red lip version. And all the, like, it's not just the main guys, there's like all these other characters feel like super 50s and 60s sci-fi. It's really cool. I will say it every single time I review anything from Mark Spears. If you are only collecting these things for the covers, you are missing so much joy, because the books themselves are really, really good. So try them out. All right, this is an interesting book. I thought that when I first saw it, I was like, oh, is this that they reprint again the book that they released right at when they did the movies? And this one's kind of cool. It is more from the point of view of a professor of reeds where he basically puts himself in the center of kind of like being the reason why the astronauts even survived their trip into space. So it's from his point of view in the control center, and him saying, if I had gone into space and this happened to me, that would have been great, but then these guys wouldn't have made it back. And I created all the technology that saved them and all these things, right? When we know Reed and the other astronauts are super smarty petardis, and they were probably had something to do with it. But he gets really, really mad when all the attention goes to the Fantastic Four and none of it goes to him. So it's an interesting outside view of that. And of course, there's like an answer to, like, is it really due to him? And he has a cool name. I forgot his name. The something thinker or something. It doesn't matter. It's just a good story taking place in the Fantastic Four universe. Makes you think a little bit. If Reed wasn't the guy who figured out how to get him out of space, then who would it have been? Mad Thinker. That's right, Mad Thinker. Thank you. All right, Hyde Street. This is actually issue number 11 for Hyde Street, but it does advertise itself as being the Butcher of Hyde Street storyline part 1. There are tons of different characters that are part of Hyde Street, and it's neat because even if you hadn't jumped in the beginning, it's got this cool part at the beginning that kind of like goes back and explains some stuff about some of the characters. Including, I'm going to do this one little part because it's cool. It says, every decade a new resident is chosen by the enigmatic scorekeeper who presides over this putrid purgatory. He recruited me in 1966, a failed advertising executive and absent father. For my many wrongdoings, I was given one task: deliver 10,000 souls and earn my freedom. I tried to reject the call to service, but the scorekeeper was very persuasive. He melted my eyes and gave me these all-seeing glasses inspired by the cheap mail-order novelties I peddled to unsuspecting children. I was Mr. Frederick Xavier Ray, now Mr. X-Ray. This boy went by Mr. Peabody, now he's Pranky. And thanks to my glasses, Pranky's in a nightmare inside of a nightmare. So Pranky looks like he is wearing an outfit made for a little like Boy Scout. And this has some background story about him, which kind of explains him a little bit, but also makes you wonder what is real and isn't real within the universe of this horror part of the corner. It actually shows him being born, but then he's watching himself being born, and then interacts as himself, a boy, with the part of him being born, which doesn't make any sense. You're so far behind any of this Ghost Machine stuff that isn't Redcoat. That's why you watch this show. You get all caught up. So all you really need to know about Hyde Street is that you don't have to kind of read it in order, really, because it's just like Redcoat or any of those other books. Every single issue gives you stuff that's going on, but also stuff that went on, and it all fits together really well. But this is the horror corner of the universe, which I think that there's another title that's going to pop up here soon that goes with it, because Hyde Street is one of them. Sisterhood's going to get a big push into another storyline, I think. And then I have that one shot called Devour. And this whole universe is going to continue on. Jeff Johns is doing an amazing job of making a universe that I actually care about, even though horror is not normally my jam. But I like this because specifically this is more about a character development for somebody that's in that universe. Soulless. Ooh, yeah. Okay. The Quintesson War. I like very much how they continue, or Kirkman continues to work in things into Void Rivals that would normally be part of other parts of the universe. Remember, they've got G.I. Joe and Transformers. They're all part of this big thing, right? If you had $1 for every time you had to watch yourself be born, TJ. At some point, DC will regret cutting John's. I honestly, Barlord, I don't know if it was a cut. I think that probably John's wanted to go and do some of his own creative work, which is what this is. But I think that they still use him, like especially in movies, you'll see his name as being, like producer or something like that on them. So I think he still is somebody that gives them lots of feedback and has his fingers in the pie. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I don't and didn't have any feeling that DC ever was out with him. They wouldn't be smart to do it anyway. Okay, so the Quintessence War is in full swing. The beings on this planet are trying to make a play at surviving this thing, but in the beginning of this book, you have on the front cover here, you get to see him. He is like a three-faced, we'll just call him a judge. I think he's like a judge, some war judge. I think he comes down and says that he is, or the war tribunal or something. And the crazy thing is that what he brings with him are these Sharkticons, which you can actually see on the front cover. So I'm not spoiling anything for you. Hey, there's Sharkticons. And of course, those are from a Transformers universe. And they're really scary when they show up in war. And that's kind of my pitch for you, because I don't want to mess up anything else for this. We're at part 4 of 6. So something's going to happen, because this guy seems like he's just going to smear them like no problem. But I just like the design of him and how he introduces himself and how he shows his faces. And I don't know. The universe is so cool. It's different. Way different than anything that else is out there, even though it gives us things that are familiar to us, like Sharkticons. So excited for the next one. Okay. Tony Flees and Trish Forstner and Tom Rodriguez. And I don't know Simpson's first name. I failed the city. Are some of my favorite people. They're awesome, talented folk. And that have been giving us really awesome storylines, right? We know Tony has been doing great. He just got through giving us an amazing Deathstroke, right? Hope you guys all bought that, right? You did? Raise your hand. Got that book and read it? But Feral, his universe, has been just keeping keeping us super interested in this post-rabies apocalypse world, like having us follow around these cats, trying to survive, try to not get bit, try to not get grabbed up by humans, which are going to do bad things to them. And in this regard, the last arc was them all kind of like being stuck at a pet store that was being lorded over by some other cat that barely got out of there alive, but they got captured. And this is Snowflake, I think, on the front. So this is interesting. I don't know if they timed all this together, because we're about to get a bunch of silent issues for G.I. Joe, which, by the way, you should sign up for those if you like cool silent issues. But this is a silent interlude where there's no words. So this is a Ghost trying to escape or find out what's going on at this facility that he's gotten stuck in with. They have a dog friend that's part of their universe. I can't remember the dog friend's name. Here, I'll look and tell you. I'm having a hard time remembering all the names of the cats. Some of them are easy. Lord's the one with the pompadour. Ghost is white. It's super simple, right? Let's see. It's got the whole list. Elsie is the Siamese cat. Gigi's the one with only one eye. Chloe's got like brown pompadour. Moosh is the name of the dog. Moosh has been captured in here. And it's a really great set of storytellings in that through what you see, you can tell what the dire straits are that they find themselves in. And then as advertised, I'm pretty sure this has been common knowledge on social media for a little while. Everyone's been asking for a crossover with Stray Dogs, and the last page gives you absolutely everything that you ever wanted in this regard. I am so excited for you guys. I hope you've read Stray Dogs, and if you haven't, it's totally cool. You don't need to know who these dogs are. I can tell you everything about these dogs. The dogs themselves were being taken as trophies by a serial killer when he was out doing his killings. But when that series starts, the dogs don't know that. It's all from one dog's point of view that gets grabbed up, gets brought home. They're confused because they have a short attention span. I guess dogs don't have memories that are very long. And so the whole thing, that whole first series is about that dog specifically and other dogs realizing what's going on with them. And that has a really cool climax. So I'm not going to ruin the climax for you guys. Should read that first story. And then there was another mini series that came on the heels of that. Then we've had this awesome run of Feral, and now we got them joining each other. So cannot wait to see what happens next, because I've been waiting for this. Great art, great art, great art. Okay. This is going to be one of those, remember I said there's going to be some payoffs for people that were diving into DCKO and understand kind of what happened at the end of that storyline. At the end of the storyline, Superman wins. Superman takes on all of the Omega energy. Instead of taking it on and keeping it, which would kind of corrupt him, like ultimate power corrupts ultimately, he basically blows himself up. We don't know where he is, by the way. And distributes all of this Omega energy across all the superheroes. Some superheroes get a bunch of it, some, I don't know. I still haven't figured out who got what. But it is very cool because some of the characters that got sucked in for the tournament are still in our universe. And this is Superboy Prime, otherwise known as Superman. And he wants to stay. He is not a well-beloved version of Superman. He's been kind of murdery killy. He does not have the same kind of code of conduct or ethics as our Superman does. But as we don't have a Superman and he would like to stay, he's making a play for I'm totally cool. Just don't worry about it. I would like to stay and have a low-grade life. It's neat because the whole first page is him hi, I'm Superboy Prime. And I think he's hanging out with no shirt on for a lot of this issue, honestly. Basically, if you like the whole beefcake look, he is totally muscled out. And he has, it's Superboy Prime because he's got his S logo is kind of built into his chest, tattooed or something, branded. I don't know. So that's how you know who he is. He's it's hard for him to hide. So this one is a really great start in trying to tell you that this cool Superboy Prime Time storyline is going to be an interesting, hey, what I'd like to do is join the Justice League and hang out with everybody and do a job and I'll be great. But also you see some true violence from him right away. So you know what he's capable of. And really and truly, I don't think you can change your nature. Unless you really work at it and you really want to. His nature is a little bit why pull back on something you can do if the result is good. So it's going to be interesting. This is kind of a mirroring something that happened back in the 90s when we had the death of Superman, right? We had this whole time period in which we didn't know where Superman was. He was assumed dead. And we had 4 characters show up that could have been Superman. You had kind of mullet Superman, you had Superboy, you had Cyborg, and Shootfire. Who was the last one? I'm always better at remembering them.
You had Eradicator, Cyborg, Superman, Hank Henshaw. Then you had Superboy, but don't call him boy. And then you had Steel.
Steel, that's it. Yeah, and that was really great because that went on for quite a while, trying to you got to know all those characters and or hate them. And then you end up with a Superman at the end. And I kind of feel like that's the way this storyline is going to go. We're not going to see Superman for a while, if at all, ever again. And I don't know. I kind of hope we get John as our permanent Superman. But I think that they've kind of told us that they're going to maybe de-age John a little bit because he grew him up real fast, and let him have some time. Give him some adolescence, man. He needs some adolescence, that guy. Kryptonite tattoo gun. Does anybody know how Superboy Prime got his brand? I feel like this is something that that TJ knows. TJ knows all that kind of stuff. Kryptonite tattoo gun. No, I don't think so. All right, here we go. I'm going to open this up because I read the first two stories so I can give you all of that, but then I wanted to read to you who are the creative team on the other stories that I could not. Would he heal when recovered? Okay, let's have a discussion about it. We got a little bit of time. So if Superman got tattooed, he's not like Deadpool or Wolverine, which have healing factor. He just, with Earth's yellow sun, he recovers quickly. So I don't think like if he got a tattoo, it would become untattooed. What do you guys say? I guess we've never really had any of those problems. Like we haven't had Superman lose an arm or any of that kind of stuff. It's a good question, honestly. Okay, let's talk about Superman, Spider-Man. Man, I'm telling you, the premise of this first story by Mark Waid is so good. And of course, they put George Jimenez as the artist. So, okay, so the storyline is about Doc Ock. Anything could go down in Kandor. Oh, that's true. We could take him to Kandor. Yeah. Can the brush pull hair out? Oh, Corey's asking all the deep questions. You guys keep talking about it. I'm going to do this, but keep talking about all those questions. Those are cool. So, Doc Ock is working with an AI to come up with a big plan to use it for, right? But the problem is that he loses control of his AI arms, which is the problem you have if you ever give AI control of anything that you don't have control over. And then you find out that there's another DC character who is very likely to be able to control something that's AI directed. And I'll give you a little bit of spoiler. That is part of the very smart, brainy part of the universe. It doesn't spoil it too much. So this is really, the first story is all Peter Parker and Clark Kent as those parts of themselves. They both know each other's secret identities in the story. It's them having to show up and fight against this horrible bad guy, in which you find out that Brainiac is trying to offload a virus that he accidentally downloaded from another planet. He has to offload this code and he can just put it into a biological entity, I guess. And so he's trying to give it to people. So the problem is also that he's using as part of his shtick kryptonite. So, of course, it makes everything way more difficult. Oh, TJ knows the answer. So during Infinite Crisis, Prime went off his rocker and basically carved the S logo into his chest. So self-inflicted. Oh, I like that. All right. So that storyline is really terrific. That's a nice long storyline. And then the second storyline is a storyline that takes place between Lois Lane and Mary Jane, who definitely have a lot in common. They talk about all the stuff they have in common, right? And then there's also really cool story. That's the one, and that one's called The World Finest. That's Tom King that writes that one. Really terrific storyline. And the ones I didn't get to read, but I assume are terrific, and I now regret not reading this one because the next one is Superboy Prime and Amazing Spider-Man, and that is a storyline called Pages, and that's Chris Priest, which Chris Priest can do no wrong. Then there's a Superboy, and the logo for the Superboy looks to be out of the kind of amalgam era. Just saying. And Spider-Man 2099. This one's called Beyond the Cobwebs Tomorrow. That's Sean Murphy. Then there is Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen and Carnage. What? That one's going to be crazy. And it is by Matt Fraction and Steve Lieber, which made, Jimmy Olsen such a great thing. And then there is a Jonathan Kent and Ben Parker storyline by Jeff Lemire, and that one's called The Bridge. And then there's I don't know who's in this one, but it's Daily Planet and Daily Bugle, Bias by Greg Rutka. And then the last story is Power Girl and the Punisher. That's called Blind Date. Oh, listen to who wrote this one. This is Gail Simone, y'all. Gail Simone. That's got to be super dope. I'm going to look at that. I'm going to look in on those. Blind Date. What's that one about? Okay. Oh, gosh, the art is so good. Who did the art of this thing? Belen Ortega. Oh, they look like they had fun on their blind date. Okay. Anyway, it is a huge, thick book, gigantically thick book, totally worth the money. It's not even a $10 book. You remember when every book that did this was we're going to try to milk this for all it's worth and get all the money out of it we can. They really did their best to have as many pages as they could, but for not as much money. So they're $8. That's a really good price, y'all. So yes, everything about the Superman, Spider-Man is what you want. So this is the DC Marvel book. So don't get it confused with in a month or so when they do the Marvel DC book and it's called Spider-Man, Superman. They are not the same book. He's going to have a whole new set of new stories. So that was the difficulty with when they did the Deadpool Batman Deadpool. It's easy to get them mixed up, especially if you accidentally get them racked in the same spot. It's curious to see if this sells more than the Marvel side, given what happened last time. I think people are smarter now, Barlord, about what's going on. So hopefully it will do just as fine. I know that we probably didn't buy as many as we did with the first one because we had no idea to gauge what the demand for all the different covers were. We still bought all the covers, but we didn't buy 20 million like we did with the last run. So I'm happy to have all the different versions. So
here's what I'll say about that crossover. While I enjoyed the mainline story, I want the crossovers that happened after the main story to get their own one-shots. I need...
You like those?
Green Arrow, Daredevil. I need a Cap and Diana book. So much.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. There was a lot to love about those little side stories. And maybe they'll keep going. Maybe if Marvel and DC see their success with this stuff and we tell them a lot, Cap and Wonder Woman was through the roof awesome. And to this end, do consider, I know we feel like if we say stuff on social media, just in general, that Marvel or DC sees it, but they don't really have time to go through regular social media and just discover it. But if you write to them and they see it and they see that there's demand for it, then it's way more likely that we'll tell them all the time, I think that this would sell. But if they don't hear it from you guys, then it doesn't have the same kind of weight. So if you go to dccomics.com and marvel.com, I'm sure there's a way to communicate your desires to them. So this cover, y'all. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Oh, and Absolute Wonder Woman, we have the Battle of Mini Magics, man. There is a ton of magic stuff going on. And it's great because we've had a magic wielder in Wonder Woman for a long time. And she's been able to use it very successfully. But she's only really been going up against other beings that don't have a ton of magic ability. But she's been up against Zatanna, who, when she met her like 3 issues ago, Zatanna basically bound her and so that she could control her magic. But in this issue, or the very end of last issue, found out there was a reason why Zatanna had to do that, and that her dad is the big bad here. And so she was just trying to like, my dad's coming, but if I don't stop Wonder Woman from destroying me, then I won't ever get to tell her that that's the real problem, right? So that is what this book is about. It's about them coming to terms with what's going on and trying to figure out how to like trust each other a little bit so they can actually get down to what's important. And by the way, I don't know if you guys saw these images, but there was a cosplayer who did this exact costume. I don't know, maybe she saw the cover art here, because this costume I don't think has been the one she's been wearing exactly, but this cosplayer made this outfit exactly, and she looks just like her. It's such a great job. I think it was MegaCon that she wore it to, but I follow her anyway, so it could have been just like a general her posting it. But I've seen quite a few Absolute Batmans in the last 3 or 4 months, but I haven't seen any Wonder Woman, and I don't think I've seen what. And I have seen some Martian Manhunter costumes, which were really great. So I'm excited to see like how deep people go down the costuming rabbit hole. It would be really difficult, for example, to do Absolute Poison Ivy because her costume is not very straightforward. She's kind of like totally moves all around and changes so much. It's not a set thing that she is. So Snarky J did one. I have to remember who was it. I need to go back and look who the person is that did it, but it was incredible. You saw K-pop Demon Hunters a day after the movie dropped. Yeah, those people don't sleep. Trust me, I am one of them. All right, and last of the regular books is Absolute Martian Manhunter. In the last issue, what you saw was the revelation of a blue Manhunter, which kind of was like a Debbie Downer. Whenever that Martian was kind of like had infiltrated people's thoughts, basically just had them think the most horrible thoughts, down thoughts about themselves and others. And so that kind of infiltrated his family, which they are still kind of infiltrated by that and other Martians. And you have a totally different one that's now hanging around John while he is kind of like imprisoned, and Martian Manhunter is imprisoned somewhere else. And so John's trying to get to Martian, and I know when this book ends, I'm going to be also all the crying, Marlord. I will just ugly cry. But I don't know how they're going to wrap this up, because it is so psychological. Every time people ask me what this book is about, I'm like, you just have to read it. There's no explaining this thing. It's not anything like Martian Manhunter ever was written. It's so psychological and visual. It's impossible. Yes, it was slated for 6. And then when it was very, very successful, they were allotted to 12. And then from what I understand, that they were kind of offered the ability to keep going if they really wanted to, but then DC offered them another title, which they jumped at the opportunity to do. And I don't know what the title is. I know a lot of inside information, but I don't know the exact title that they got offered. But I can tell you that probably Dennis would not drop this unless he really believed that they could wrap this story up in a successful way and have a plan for what's coming after that. So keep your eyes peeled for, usually the creative team are the first people to kind of like drop that in hints what they're going to do. But we're going to keep these guys together, I hope, because they're 100% awesome together. And we have other Dennis titles to read, right? He's killing it in Assorted Crisis events. If you guys aren't reading that also out of Image, you're just robbing yourself of some joy. All right, let's talk about some ash cans that we received this week. This is a flip book, this one. This is Odin that flip books into the other book that I'm also going to review. So at your LCS, they might have this flip book available for you. But then they also got a 1 per store for the other book I'm going to review, that one right there. Okay. So this is from James Tynion Tiny Onion Studio. Also Marguerite Bennett working on this book. So this is about a reporter that will not kind of like be throttled by danger when they want to have access to a story. And so when you meet her, she's actually trying to infiltrate this like really weird skinhead group that believes in the like actual existence of Odin and are wanting to go into the woods and kind of like find like the actual god, right? And so she's been kind of like hanging around and trying to get their attention by not getting their attention. She's like not trying to look at me, I should be in your thing. She just like sits in corners and smokes. And so they eventually approach her because they're like, you're here all the time. You come to all of our stuff. You seem to be our person. So that is what this little ash can gives you. But what the solicitation says is that once they get into the woods, that something else is there to meet them. So it's probably a lot of cool body horror, I'm just going to guess. And the art for the ash can is gorgeous. So if you can find copies of it to look at, it is really killer. And I probably would think it would be a good investment if you can grab it up for free to $5. I would buy it because historically Image ash cans tend to be a good payout, especially if you have things like, Something is Killing the Children, those kinds of books. So if your aim is to have something awesome to get yourself excited about adding things to your pull list, you should. Or if you just like to collect stuff. And then I actually read not the flip version of this book, but the 1 per store, which is the full issue of this awesome Matt Rosenberg gorgeousness, along with it's with another family member, but I don't know who the family member is. Markalia Rosenberg. This is crazy. Yes, you need all of it, Barlord, because this is so good. It's so neat the way that he's been doing a little bit of promotion for this by saying things like he'll tell a little synopsis and then he'll say link in bio, but it's Lincoln bio instead of link in bio. It's hilarious to me. But I actually, of course, put on my page, I posted about this and I said, this is your 4-score warning that you should put this on your pull box because I like doing puns. But this one was not at all what I was really expecting, and it doesn't matter because I don't want to have any expectations when it comes to him because every time he writes cool original stories, they are better and better and better and better and better. Preview issue won't be cheap. No, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Secondary market says it's worth marking up, I guess. So this is about a world in which it appears that all human beings have died. Why they've died is kind of alluded to in one of the panels where it looks like maybe refrigerators should not be trusted. And for whatever reason. And there is a robot who is basically a Lincoln impersonator who they call pretend human or whatever. Something that approximates that. The rest of the robots that look like real robots. And I guess every day he shows up and tries to do a Lincoln speech. And he's got some kind of glitch. And so he doesn't do a very good job. And it ends up that he meets other robots that have purposes that are no longer purposeful. Like there's a robot that he meets that's job was to make breakfast for his humans. And he hasn't made breakfast for humans in a long time because there's no humans to make breakfast for. Or he finds a bus who is empty all the time because his purpose was driving humans around. And so he still does his whole thing. So the underlying message so far from this first issue that I'm getting is kind of like, when your original purpose, the thing you were made for, is no longer a thing that you can fulfill, then what? Then what? And they grow interesting science experiments. Only what's in them. Yes. Fridges should not be trusted. Skull, 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 XXX. So gorgeous, gorgeous art throughout. Very robot sciencey. If you liked iRobot, or gosh, there's a bunch of like cool films out there that have just like robot societies as their theme. This I know is going to be a lot different than that. And it has a surprise ending, kind of like he thinks he sees something that shouldn't exist. You probably can guess. But the thing about it is just like the whole way their robot society works, honestly, is a very, very interesting. I am excited for this entire thing. And I'm sure, I need to go and look and see if it's meant to be a short series or long series, or if they're just going to figure it out as they go along. But put it on your list, put it on your list, put it on your list. Okay, so thank you guys for being here. Now you have a lot of information that you can use to go to your local comic shop or call them tonight and say, you know what, I would like you to pull these and put them in my pull box because I saw them on a show and I really want to have them. Or head out there first thing in the morning to make sure you can assure yourself some copies of them. I hope it's useful for you. Coming up next is going to be me. But I'm going to be selling the things I was just talking about. So I hope that you guys like that. But here is what I'm going to say every single time. Please go to your local comic shop or call your local comic shop. As a first, don't plug into my show if you have a local comic shop. I do not want to take your local comic shop's business. It is not my purpose at all. But if you don't have one, I feel like everyone should have an approximation of a local comic shop. So if you need a like far away one, which is me, I'm happy to take care of you. So thanks, guys. And then I know that Henri is not on tonight because he just got back from MegaCon and is preparing for C2E2, and he's exhausted. If you've ever watched Henri sell books, you understand this, because he stands up the entire time that the show is open and talks to every person that comes by his booth and tells them all about his comic books, because that's what you got to do if you're going to be successful in the comic book business. So probably give mine too much business. No such thing. I will do this little lecture over and over again every single day of my life. If everybody just the people that liked a comic book store on Facebook, just Facebook, not even Instagram or whatever else, just the people that liked a store on Facebook, just went and spent $5 a month at their LCS, no LCS would ever go out of business. One time a month, $5 is all you need to keep your LCS thriving. If you want to have them be like super awesome, then you can do more. But that's all they really need to see. Don't feel a lot of pressure. Just go buy one book. Say hi. They'll be very happy to see you. Hang out and talk. Make good friends. All right, everybody. I am so thankful for you. Thank you for every week showing up. I hope you're telling your friends. I hope you find our shows useful. Make sure that you add Matthias's awesome show about the FOC books that are being offered. Order up. He always has terrific guests, so don't miss that. I am going to say bye-bye, and I will see you guys in just a few minutes if you're going to come back on. And if not, I will see you guys next week. Bye, y'all.